Delta Development Commission, NDDC, making a difference.
Welcome back. It's Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region. Some legal practitioners in the Niger Delta have thrown their full weight behind the Akwa Ibom state government, which recently dragged American oil major ExxonMobil Unlimited to court after attempting to sell up some of its assets without the consent of the state. They insist that as host to ExxonMobil, Akwa Ibom State has critical stake in the oil major's operations and should therefore not be relegated to the background.
In February this year, ExxonMobil entered into an agreement with Seplat Energy plc, an indigenous oil firm, to acquire the entire offshore shallow water business of the international oil company in a deal worth about $1.3 billion. In a press statement issued shortly after the deal was struck, President of ExxonMobil Upstream and Gas, Liam Mellon, said, "This sale will allow us to prioritize competitive advantage investments in our strategic assets, and it supports the Nigerian government's effort to grow its oil and gas operations." Few weeks later, the Akwa Ibom state government filed a suit in court to stop the transaction. According to Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Akwa Ibom State, Essien Udom, the American oil major acted irresponsibly by failing to duly inform its host government before going ahead to sell its equity interest in Mobil Producing Nigeria Unlimited. In a recent interaction with journalists in Uyo, the Attorney General of Akwa Ibom State wondered why Mobil chose to sell off its equity interest regardless of a pending case in court.
There is a pending litigation between Mobil and the government of Akwa Ibom State. So the attempt to sell its assets, some of which may include assets belonging to Akwa Ibom State, has been stopped by the court in Akwa Ibom.
Following a revocation of its certificate of occupancy by the Akwa Ibom State government sometime in November 2017, Mobil had gone to court seeking to void its eviction from the Kwaibo oil terminal. Responding to this development, Uyo-based lawyer Christopher Ekbu and Asim Adams, a Port Harcourt-based lawyer, fault the action of the international oil company, which they describe as sub judice contempt.
The government of Akwa Ibom State became aware that during the pendency of the case, and in spite of the Mareva injunction being obtained and saved Mobil, that Mobil had actually gone ahead to deplete, sell its assets within Akwa Ibom and offshore Akwa Ibom. That is when the government had to cry out through the Attorney General.
And the doctrine of lease pendis, especially when it concerns assets, properties, movable and immovable, once the matter is before the courts, parties are not supposed to touch that particular subject matter, which we call the res. Because the moment you destroy that subject matter, there will be no place for the court to even give their judgment.
For what is blamed on insecurity in the Niger Delta, international oil companies are leaving the region in droves. Recently, investors in the petroleum industry attributed the massive exodus of the IOCs to rising incidents of oil theft and pipeline vandalism, resulting in high cost of production, which the oil majors can no longer afford to bear. In his reaction, Richard Nwokocha, an associate professor of public law at the Rivers State University, holds the federal government accountable for what has become a hopeless situation in the oil fields of the Niger Delta.
What is happening is available investors being forced off the market. Local people taking over may sound good, but are they taking over at the level at which federal government expected those it licensed to operate in the sector? And are they taking over to get half of what they are projecting to spend for? If local people are taking over, they are taking over a destroyed sector. It's still not a thing to be happy about unless you have fixed the problem that drove off the foreign investor who was there.
The international oil companies are pulling out of the Niger Delta in spite of the recent enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act to make Nigeria's petroleum industry more attractive to local and foreign investors. For close observers of unfolding events in the industry, the Petroleum Industry Act comes at a time the oil majors have already perfected their exit strategy from the Niger Delta region. Given this scenario, Even if the Akwa Ibom state government triumphs in its legal battle with Mobil, it wouldn't stop the IOCs from relocating their investments to safer destinations outside the Niger Delta. This is definitely a catch-22 situation for the federal government, which has the obligation to revisit its petroleum joint venture partnerships to allow for a more cordial relationship between oil-producing communities and state governments on the one hand and the oil-producing companies on the other hand.
Inside the Niger Delta.
There has been an astronomical increase in the cost of living across states in the Niger Delta following a corresponding increase in the price of petroleum products in the aftermath of the recent scarcity of petroleum products witnessed nationwide. This report, correspondent Biola Festus, who spoke to some business owners in Port Harcourt, takes a look at factors responsible for the soaring cost of petroleum products in Nigeria's oil belt.
Few weeks back, Port Harcourt's residents had their own fair share of the harrowing experience of what Nigerians went through as a result of a nationwide fuel scarcity. Although the queues at filling stations have since disappeared, Port Harcourt's residents still have no cause to heave a sigh of relief. Unlike in Lagos and Abuja, where petrol is sold at the official price of 165 naira per litre, it sells for between 190 naira and 200 naira in Port Harcourt. In the Rivers State capital and other parts of the Niger Delta, the price of diesel, which is an essential commodity for medium and big businesses, is even more exorbitant, a situation that continues to ignite a surge in the cost of production. There is a general feeling in the Niger Delta that owners of filling stations are deliberately hiking prices to maximize profits. However, spokesperson for the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Ukadike Chinedu, blames the exorbitant cost of petroleum products across the South-South and Southeast geopolitical zones on the moribund state of depots owned and managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) in the affected states. He says while independent marketers operating in Lagos and Abuja benefit from subsidies provided by the NNPC depots, those operating in the Niger Delta are constrained to lift products from privately owned depots at higher costs. In the Niger Delta, where electricity supply is generally epileptic, most businesses and households depend on petroleum products such as petrol, diesel and kerosene to meet their daily energy needs. With the recent hike in prices of petroleum products, medium and small-scale business owners in the region are beginning to complain about increasing costs of production. Unable to bear the exorbitant costs of production, service providers in the Niger Delta have been compelled to increase costs of goods and services to remain in business. For many years, Nigeria has been confronted with a serious energy crisis, despite being a major oil-producing country with one of the highest proven gas reserves in the world. This irony is blamed on the country's inability to refine and utilize its abundant petroleum resources due to the moribund state of its 4 refineries in Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna. In over a decade, artisanal crude oil refiners operating in the Niger Delta have made remarkable efforts to bridge a yawning gap in crude oil production. In recognition of their efforts, the federal government has on several occasions made promises to integrate artisanal crude oil refiners into the value chain of crude oil production by legalizing their operations. Spokesperson for the Independent Petroleum Marketers of Nigeria, Ukadike Chinedu, says while he is not comfortable with the modus operandi of artisanal crude oil refiners, it has become incumbent on the federal government to legalize their operations in the best economic interest of the Nigerian state. For many decades, oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta have been plagued by massive ecological devastations occasioned by environmentally unsustainable methods of oil and gas production in the region. Right now, their predicament is heightened by rising prices of petroleum products, which the majority poor in the region cannot afford. To ameliorate the sufferings of oil-producing communities in the Niger Delta, all of which are faced with an uncertain future in an imminent global post-oil economy, the federal government has been urged to walk the talk about increasing local capacity for crude oil and gas production in Nigeria.
Inside the Niger Delta.
The Ijors, Isokos, Ishekiris, and the Urobos together form the three I's and U that make up Delta South Senatorial District. Let's join hands in unity to develop Delta South and make it great. Sir Ayodele Ogogo Utihiwa says, think Delta South, think development.
Azikel Group. Oil and gas, dredging, power and air transportation. Azikel Group. Petroleum product sufficiency, energy sustainability, and infrastructure development.
Everything home, all in one place. Visit Home Options today at 22 Aba Port Harcourt Express Road, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, or call 080-998-08678 or 080-331-34055 or visit our website www.homeoptionsng.com.
And now to some political reports in the Niger Delta. As we draw close to the 2023 general elections, the governorship position of oil-producing states in the Niger Delta, as always, will continue to attract the attention of all Nigerians. One state that already has keen observers watching its development very closely is Delta State, where political disagreements between former Governor James Onanefe-Ibori and incumbent Governor Senator Ifeanyi Okowa is already causing ripples and disunity within the People's Democratic Party, PDP, which has ruled Delta State since 1999. According to political observers, if this disagreement is not quickly resolved, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, will fall like a pack of cards to the All Progressives Congress, APC, which has been itching to take control of Delta State. Since last year, when the Delta State Governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, dissolved his cabinet and fired key political appointees and known loyalists to former Governor James Onanefe-Ibori, the relationship between the two of them has since steadily degenerated into a relationship of mutual suspicion and distrust. Even as they try to display unity and cordiality in public, it is clear that their disagreement over who becomes the next governor of Delta State has left them as political foes, preparing to lock horns in their battle to enthrone either of their proxies as governor of Delta State. While James Ibori believes that as leader of the Urobos in Delta State and the political boss of all PDP members in the state, he reserves the right to nominate the next governor on behalf of all the Urobos and indeed all PDP members in Delta State. Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, as serving governor of Delta State, believes that it is his right to choose his successor. As James Ibori is reportedly rooting for former two-time commissioner, principal secretary to former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and former chief of staff to Ifeanyi Okowa, David Edewe, as the next governor of the state, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa and his Delta political vanguard are rooting for current speaker of the Delta State House of Assembly, Honorable Sheriff Oborewori. As part of attempts to resolve the impending political crisis within the PDP, the party last week Tuesday held a stakeholder meeting in Asaba, the Delta State capital. Two former PDP governors of Delta State and current Governor Ifeanyi Okowa were in attendance, as well as other party bigwigs in the state. However, as soon as the governor, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, arrived at the meeting, James Ibori got up, addressed the gathering, and immediately took his leave, citing attendance of another engagement. This action, according to political observers, simply means that Chief Ibori and his supporters have indicated clearly that there are no issues to be resolved. In other words, the political disagreements within the PDP in Delta State continues. In a veiled response to the meeting, an exasperated Governor Okowa, who continues to remain optimistic about resolving the disagreements, posted on his verified Facebook handle, and I quote, "These are trying times, but with honest dialogue, cooperation and respect for constituted authorities, we can and shall overcome whatever challenges that may come our way," unquote. While the PDP seems to be in disarray, the APC in Delta State is plotting every single day on how to capture power. Since last year, when former PDP chairman in Delta State, Senator Peter Nwaboshi, decamped to the APC, they have been strategizing on how to increase membership of the party in the state. With a strong and an emerging political powerhouse in the person of Deputy Senate President Uviomo Agege in the running for the governorship of Delta State, the PDP, even as a united house, will have difficulty in winning the election. If they, however, go into the governorship elections in 2023 as a divided house against an almost sure APC candidate, Senator Uviomo Agege, who is also a student of the James Ibori Political School, they will most likely lose the election to APC, as James Ibori and his loyalists, and indeed majority of Urobos, will have no problem switching support to one of their own, Senator Uviomo Agege. In fact, among all the aspirants being paraded by the PDP at the moment, political observers say only David Edewe, the preferred governorship aspirant of James Ibori, has the capacity to trounce Senator Omo Agege. Last year, while commissioning some projects in Delta State, Deputy Senate President Uviomo Agege left no one in doubt of his resolve and indeed the resolve of the APC to take over Delta State in 2023.
Come 2023, most of the Egyptians you see in the zone, you not see them anymore. You just watch. I'm very, very confident that come 2023, APC will sweep Delta State and sweep most of the South. And you can take that to the bank.
As we look forward to the 2023 governorship elections in Delta State, no doubt there will be a lot of drama characterized by political maneuverings, intrigues and backstabbing, not just during the party primaries alone, but also at the general elections. Will PDP continue to rule Delta State after 2023? Or will the APC seize the reins of power in Delta State? As they say, time will tell.
Inside the Niger Delta.
For the umpteenth time since 1999, the debate on which ethnic group should produce the next governor of Rivers State is gradually taking the center stage in political discourse as the 2023 governorship election draws closer. In this report, our correspondent takes a look at the position of different political camps on the issue of zoning and how they will likely shape the conduct and outcome of the 2023 governorship election in Rivers State.
Unlike in neighboring Akwa Ibom and Delta states where governorship hopefuls are beginning to throw their hats in the ring in readiness for 2023, their counterparts in Rivers State have maintained a studied silence. Most political bigwigs are trying to look before they leap as the debate on power sharing between the riverine and upland parts of Rivers State resurfaces in 2023. Leading the debate on the need for rotational governorship are Minister of Transportation Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi and Governor Nyesom Wike. While Amechi, immediate past governor of Rivers State, is said to be rooting for a riverine Ijaw person to become the next governor of the state, Wike has consistently maintained that his support for a governorship aspirant will be on account of proven capacity to win election and not on the basis of ethnic affiliation. Expectedly, the debate on rotational governorship is gaining currency as the 2023 general elections draw closer. Former chairman of Inter-Party Advisory Committee in Rivers State, Samuel Ihunwo, and Dr. Edwin Jonathan, a lecturer in the Law Faculty of Rivers State University, agree with Governor Nyesom Wike that the governorship contest in 2023 should be fully participatory to allow for the emergence of a competent leader.
Reducing the governance of a state to a particular ethnic group is to me not the best interest of the state. So it should be thrown open. Anyone that have the capacity should lead and show what he can do.
I think it's about time we looked for the right candidate, irrespective of where he comes from. And so
On that premises, I support His Excellency Governor Nyesom Wike. The question of, sectional leadership, that is what you and I know as rotational leadership for the presidency, for the governors and what have you, has never yielded the dividend we need, as a nation.
However, Prince Toyin Princewill, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, calls for power shift to the riverine part of the state to reflect equity, fairness and justice.
The riverine Ijaws in 1999 came out and supported Odili for governor, because we had seen the history of the state and how things had gone. So when it comes to justice, there's no compromise.
Available records show that Rivers State has maintained a tradition of power sharing between the riverine Ijaws and other ethnic groups in the upland part of the state since the Second Republic. Between 1979 and 1983, Senator Melford Okilo, an Ijaw politician, was governor of Old River State, while Eze Frank Eke of the Ikwere ethnic nation was his deputy. During the transition to civil rule under the administration of military President Ibrahim Babangida, Chief Rufus Ade George, an Ijaw of Okrika extraction, served as governor between 1991 and 1993, with Sir Dr. Peter Odili as his deputy. In 1999, Sir Dr. Peter Odili was elected governor of Rivers State and was deputized by Sir Gabriel Toby, an Ijaw statesman from Opobo Kingdom. In a bid to maintain the tradition of power sharing in Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi chose Engineer Tele Ukuru, an Ijaw son from Andoni, as his deputy between 2007 and 2015. In 2015, incumbent Governor Nyesom Wike shared a joint ticket with an Ijaw lady, Dr. Epalebo Harebanigo, the current deputy governor of Rivers State. From 1979 till date, the Ijaws have produced 2 governors who served cumulatively for 6 years. By 2023, the upland of Rivers State would have held on to the governorship of Rivers State for 24 years, a development that does not go down well with Somina Wokoma and Ijaw political activists.
We will not allow it now that another upland should emerge again. We've had that. So what we are canvassing and saying and pushing for is that come 2023, a governor from the riverine extraction should emerge while we have the upland as a deputy governor.
For his part, spokesperson for Niger Delta rights advocate Comrade Darlington Nwauju insists that Governor Wike has a role to play in the quest for equitable power sharing in Rivers State. Comrade Nwauju advises Wike, who currently champions power shift to southern Nigeria, to endeavor to practice what he preaches in Rivers State.
If you say power should leave the north for the south at the national level, then we are also saying that in keeping with that tradition, power should also leave the upland for the riverine.
In the ongoing debate on rotational governorship in Rivers State, it is clear that both its proponents and opponents have their individual interests to advance in 2023. The question is, whose interests reflects the true aspiration of the generality of Rivers people? Ultimately, the buck stops with the electorate to decide who becomes the next governor of Rivers State come 2023.
Inside the Niger Delta.
And that's the size of our package for today. But before we finally draw the curtain on the program, we bring you excerpts from the full speech of former Governor of Rivers State and Honorable Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Chibike Amechi, during his recent declaration of interest to contest the 2023 presidential election in Port Harcourt.
It is the combination of experience and patriotic passion that I bring to the table. I have been in the political arena for 23 years. I have served at every level of government, local, state, and federal. I have served both as a political appointee and an elected official. I have served both as an executive, as governor of Rivers State, and as a legislator, as Speaker of the State House of Assembly. In these capacities, I did not just fill vacant posts. As a speaker, I managed the legislative process in a difficult transition from military rule. As governor, I defeated mercantile militancy and restored security. I am contesting for the office because I believe that it is my moral duty to give what I can in the service of my country.
Inside the Niger Delta.
Well, here's wishing Right Honorable Chibike Amechi all the best in his attempt to become President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Inside the Niger Delta, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region will be back same time, same station next week. Until then, you can follow us on our social media handles showing right now on your screen. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at NDNTV Nigeria. Until next week, I am Mamode Akuga thanking you for staying tuned. Bye for now.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
On Plus TV News now. Christians mark Good Friday, prelude to Easter celebrations. South Africans search for survivors in ruins of floods that killed nearly 400. Ukraine war overshadows Pope's Good Friday services. Hello and welcome. Good evening. I'm Tolu Ojewumi and this is the news now. Good Friday is being celebrated today around the world with church service to commemorate the crucifixion of the Lord Jesus Christ. Our correspondent Paul George visited a Catholic church at Ilukpeju. He reports.
At the Our Lady Queen of Apostles Catholic Church, Ilukpeju, the parishioners gave a drama presentation depicting the Last Supper, where Jesus Christ told his disciples that someone among them would betray him, as the drama took them on a procession. The parish priest, Reverend Father Paul Anyasi, said Jesus Christ is love and that he is the reason why Christians should rejoice irrespective of what we might be going through.
Good Friday means a lot of things. It's Jesus dying for us on the cross, and it connotes hope. Hope that we too, when we die, like Jesus died and rose again, we shall also resurrect like Jesus Christ. That's a basic message. It's a message of hope.
The parishioners who attended the procession also expressed their thoughts on the reason why Nigerians should observe Good Friday.
Today is very important in the life of Catholic all over the world globally. What is happening here today, now here, is happening globally. So whatever happened today is to commemorate why we are in existence today.
The importance of today, the importance of what Jesus did for us. He loved us so much that he went through all this. He could have done it another way, but no, he went the hardest way. He became one of us, because it is easy for us to say he's the Son of God, but he became one of us in all aspects. This place is only a marketplace. We all go to the market, we go back home. Our home is in heaven, it's not here.
Today signified the death of our Lord Jesus Christ. He sacrificed himself to give us salvation. And as a Christian mother, it's a special day for us, because the mother of Jesus Christ was there when he was passing through all this pain. And she was there, passing through that pain as well.
Reverend Anyasi prayed God Almighty would direct Nigerians to vote for a good leader in the next election.
Nigeria, we are in real problems of insecurity, problems of betrayal, like one of the 12 that Jesus chose betrayed him.
Paul George, Plus TV News.
We are being joined by Reverend Father Patrick Alumoko. He's the Director of Communications, Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja. Good evening, Bishop. Are you there, sir? Good evening. Are you there? Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello, good evening. Okay, we'll come back to him once we can establish connection later on in the course of the bulletin. Catholic faithful in Benue State have taken to the streets to demonstrate the Passion of Christ, and it's in commemoration of Good Friday. Good Friday is marked a holy day by the Catholic Church and all Christians indeed, as it's the day our Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross. PlusTvAfrica's correspondent in Makode, Francis Terr, who monitored the celebration, spoke with some clergymen and other faithful.
Continue to trust in Christ. Just like I said, with every Good Friday, there is always an Easter sorrow. Even if we cry now, as Christians, we're people of hope. So believe that joy will come. We believe that the resurrected Christ will always intervene and will bring us joy, happiness, and peace.
He gave his life
So it only means that we should respond to that love by loving one another. So if we love and we live and let's live in a peaceful, in a loving manner, we'll continue to share the resources we have. God has given us so much. The problem is that a good number of a few persons have hijacked the resources that God has given to us for their own personal benefit, and that is no love.
The message I have for Christians in Nigeria is that they should change their life. They should not love their neighbor. See, Christ himself loved us, and that's why he died for us. And so Christians should love themselves. If not just Christians loving themselves, loving other Christians, but loving even Muslims and other people. If we love ourselves, we will not be killing ourselves as we are killing ourselves in Nigeria. So the whole thing is that love your neighbor as Christ loves us.
When I go back to our guest on Zoom, can we establish the connection now? Reverend Father Patrick Alumuko, are you there now? Okay, we still cannot get to establish that connection. We'll come back to it later on in the course of the bulletin. Now, Oyo State Police Command has reaffirmed its commitment to leaving no stone unturned as it continues protecting lives and property. To this end, the command has employed high-octane proactive security measures deliberately designed to provide comprehensive security for the citizens. The commissioner called for more synergy between Nigerians and the police and assured of adequate deployment of operational intelligence and tactical assets across the state.
Since Monday, we've been doing it every day. Maybe other times we might do like twice or thrice in a week, but we've been doing it every day, and it's simultaneously in the state. So as it's happening in Ibadan, so also it's happening in Oyo, Ogbomoso, or Ibarapa area. So it's a simultaneous operation.
In Imo State, southeast Nigeria, residents are celebrating Easter amidst high cost of goods and services. Residents say that commodities usually selling at 500 naira, for instance, are now being sold above 1,000 naira. Some residents even accuse the government of the day of being insensitive to the plight of ordinary Nigerians. They therefore call on various governments to do something urgently so as to address the hike in the prices of commodities. INEC has suspended the continuous voter registration CVR in 54 centers. This comes after Thursday's attack in Ihite Uboma local government area of Imo State, where a staff of the commission was killed and 2 others went missing. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, noted that the Commission has now established contact with 2 of its missing staff after yesterday's attack. Now, reactions have continued to trail the attack and killing of a staff of INEC at Ihite Uboma, Imo State. The State Commissioner for Information, Declan Emelumba, says the government is working round the clock to bring the culprits to book. Meanwhile, more than 24 hours after the attack on the INEC staff, the police authority in Imo State is yet to react or make any official statement on the unfortunate incident. Take a listen.
Very unfortunate incident, very unfortunate, and it's condemnable. The state government condemns the action. Very unfortunate, and I'm happy that the security agencies have promised that they will swing into action to unravel those behind it. I want to add that the state government is really very feels very bad and sympathizes with the family of the bereaved. I want to extend these sincere condolences to the family of the bereaved and even those who probably must have been psychologically affected by the act. So it's a condemnable act.
From Imo State, let's come down to Ogun State, and the PDP governorship aspirant there, Segun Shomi, has promised to rewrite the security architecture of the state. That's if elected. Shomi made the promise while attending the stakeholders meeting on delegate sensitization at Yewa North Imekwafon constituency. Delegates also assured him of their support towards his aspiration.
For security, as it concerns the challenges they face with Boko Haram, with herdsmen clashes, which they have reduced to Fulani invasions. I've assured them that there is no such thing as an invasion, but that a comprehensive security architecture will be rewritten to cover the space. And I also charged the Baales to figure out a way that they can be more useful at information gathering in a way to help us. I reiterated my belief that a biometric capture of the people of the state to a verifiable address will be most needed to help us begin to stem insecurity by being able to put the people of the state in their location and we can identify them by biometric.
And now a 38-year-old Nigerian from Imo State, Ugochukwu Williams, has declared his intention to contest for office of President of Nigeria. Speaking to journalists while declaring his intention in Owerri, the capital of Imo State, Williams said it's time to give energetic youths a chance to contribute their quota to nation building. He noted that major achievements in Nigeria were recorded when youths were leading the country. The presidential aspirant said the PDP is the only hope for Nigerians to come out of APC woes.
It is time for the young people to take over. Mr. President has already said the wise side, so Mr. President is going to hand over to a young Nigerian. He's going to hand over to a youth that will better this country. Then when you talk about party, yes, I'm a PDP man for a long time, and if you want to make a change, you must belong to a political party all over the world. And I chose to be with PDP. And running under the PDP is because we are serious, we are realistic, we are confident that this is the structure that will give us what we want. And that is why we don't want to go to a new party that does not have a spread all over the country. What we are asking is, PDP give us the ticket, and you see people from APC, ABGA, and all the smaller parties all over Nigeria we support us and we win. It will be like a tsunami if PDP give me ticket today.
And now joining us live is Prince Benson Davis, his editor-in-chief and the New Experience newspaper. Thank you for joining us on our Prime Time News. Good evening. Now, let's take a general look at the 2023 elections. There's parents who have declared interest, Yaya Bello, Bola Tinubu, Professor Shibajo, Rotimi Amechi. What do you think stands these men out from one another?
Thank you very much. They, all of them are qualified to rule the country. But I believe we must have one of them that are more qualified. You see, if you go back to the Biblical Moses and Joshua, there are people that have toiled for the country. Tafawa Balewa, Azikiwe, Awolowo, down to the ministry, to now we have Buhari. They've all tried. But we need a vibrant person. Somebody who can say, this is what I will do and I will do it. A fearless person. Someone who have a mental immunity in him. Okay, that's fine. Now, looking at what stands them out, what stands one out from the other or from the others, let's take the candidates one after the other. Let's take the oldest, perhaps, Tinubu, Bola Tinubu. What do you think stands him out, puts him ahead of others? Then we'll look at VP Oshibajo, what stands him out as well. Then Amechi, Yaya Bello. So in your opinion, what would you say stands Bola Tinubu out over and above the others? For me, you have said it. For me, Yaya Bello is stand out among all of them. I will choose him as one of the best person to lead the country because of one, he's young, vibrant. He is able to curb the security in Kogi State. You talk about Bola Tinubu, you have tried. But right now, we need somebody that will not be taken to hospitals. But yeah, I understand that. Yes. I understand where you're coming from. But a lot of the workers in the state are complaining that it's not paying salaries. Yes. The issue of not paying salaries is everywhere in Nigeria.
The economy is very, very bad. You know what happened to the economy? Even right now, you see that almost all the states are suffering. Except Lagos State and few other states. The man has tried. In those days, you cannot leave Nigeria, Lagos now, you're going to Abuja. At Kogi, at Okene, there will be a problem. But now, that place is peaceful. The man took over government from Audu. You know that he was not qualified. He lost to Audu. But faith makes him so that he will become governor of Kogi State. And since then, he has tried his best. And it's youth. He's a very, very vibrant person. If you talk about Tinubu and the rest, I agree. But they are a little bit older. Let us give to the vibrant youth that can rule Nigeria. For once, let us try somebody like Yaya Bello. His name is Yaya Adoza Bello.
Okay. Now, so what you're saying is VP Osinbajo doesn't have what it takes to rule Nigeria. Bola Tinubu doesn't have what it takes to rule the country.
I told you they are all qualified, but they have one.
When you say qualified, everybody in Nigeria is qualified.
I agree
with you.
Qualified. The people you have mentioned, they are qualified, but you have one person that is more qualified. That guy is 46 years old. Let us give somebody. If you go to France, they give somebody that's 40 years old. Americans, Obama, Clinton, they are younger and they did very well. Let us try one person, one. Among all the ones you are talking about, Amechi, Tinubu, they are qualified, but at least Yaya Bello is more qualified than for me. Let us give him a chance because he has done incredibly well in Kogi State. He fought the caliphate in Kogi State. People like Melaya then, the former governor. It's a man that a small boy that can fight. He can also do better in Nigeria.
Okay, do you think Yaya Bello has the structure, the political structure, and the backbone to win an election of that magnitude in Nigeria?
Now look at it now. Small boy came from Kogi State, a very small village. He has about from 6 children. He's the least person. He's the smallest among the 6 children. He came from Kogi State. He had an election with APC with Audu. He lost, but faith happened that.
You said that earlier. That's in a state. Yeah. I'm talking of in national, not in the state election.
I'm coming from the states. Yeah. A guy that can be able to fight the bigger ones in Kogi State was able to rule Kogi State today. Can also do the same thing. Give him a chance. Nobody says this man. I'm the owner of Nigeria. No.
Okay. Bola Tinubu, what do you think of him?
Bola Tinubu is okay. He was able to have a very good structure. He built the west from AD to APC. He was able to do a thing that even today they are benefiting from Lagos State and the rest. And there was one time only Lagos State was under APC, AD. But at the point or two, he was able to do that. At the point, he even won about 5 states in the West. He has tried his best, but won. Medically, we don't want anybody to run to London and the rest again.
Yeah, you said that earlier. We've come to that. We've been on that, and we've moved on from that. Yes. Now, let's look at the next candidate, Amechi. No doubt, he is a strong force. Do you think the cap fits him?
I've told you, none of them can able to stand Yaya Bello. One, Amechi is.
Amechi started his political journey as a youth. Let me bring give you a certain background. He used to be Speaker to the House of Assembly in the state, then became governor, then minister, 2-time governor, 2-time minister. So one would think he has the political portfolio.
Does he have the crowd?
To run. Now, where do you get the crowd?
Does he have the crowd?
Where do you get the crowd?
He doesn't have the crowd. One, even in Rivers State. For now, it's politically is.
No, you cannot say that because that's like taking sides already. I can see whom you it's obvious what side you're taking. No. But then I need us to be dispassionate about it.
I'm viewing all of them: Tinubu, Amechi, Osinbajo, and the rest. Among them, I'm telling you that Yaya Bello stands the test of time. I know Amechi very well. And Amechi from Rivers State. He was a speaker for 8 years. He was the governor, and you know the way he came to the governorship, you know it. And it assisted them in the Minister of Transport. What has he done?
Oh no, I do not want to take sides, and neither do I want to hold brief for anyone. But then it's obvious what he has been able to
bring together in the transportation sector, the rail system and all that. But then, come to think of it, we've got to be dispassionate and we've got to be as disinterested as possible when we're looking at issues like this. I do not have anything against you taking side with any particular politician or candidate, but it's important for us to know that especially this coming election is a critical one in the history of Nigeria, and we cannot afford to be sentimental about it. So let's look at a current VP.
Yes.
The vice president. Yes. Is a professor of law. Hang on. He's a professor of law, and he's been in the he's been into enterprise for years, and has gone through tutelage, political tutelage from Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Right. So one would think is got the credentials and the verve, the energy, the intellect to rule the country. What do you make of it?
Yeah, VP Shibanzo is a very, very intellectual, is brilliant, and the rest. But in Nigeria, it's not brilliancy that can rule Nigeria.
What can rule Nigeria?
Yeah, look at it now. He has been VP for the past 7 years. He has not done anything meaningful in the country because of what? As a VP.
Do you understand the position? Do you understand the constitutional roles of the VP? Do you remember?
Yes. You see, if I don't want anybody to come to be a president and use somehow religious.
No. So what should he have done? What should he have done?
Now, he has not been able to prove himself.
How should he have proven himself?
Yes. Look at it now. You see, when they make you incapacitated in the government, you cannot do anything. You resign.
How was he made incapacitated?
Yes.
How should he have
look at it now.
performed?
Look at it now. The 2019 election, he went around and giving market women 10,000 naira.
Can you prove this? Can you substantiate?
Yes, he did it now. He did it.
How can you substantiate this? Remember, you're talking about a lawyer.
Yes.
What if he's watching you?
He says it happened in Nigeria, and it was giving them money to.
Remember, you're talking about a lawyer. What if he's watching you?
Yes, let him watch. The point is that he won't be able to rule Nigeria effectively. Get me now? Because one, Tinubu would have been the best person to rule the country because one, he has the crowd. He has the system, the way to rule. He will able to do it. But one thing for him that for right now, medically, we want a strong person, a vibrant person, a youth that can stand the test of time to rule Nigeria. And I believe from all what you are saying, I'm not for Bolatini, I'm not for Yelabelo. I believe for him. But from the ones you have shown me, I believe he is a person that I think can be able to rule the country.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us in our primetime news tonight. Thank you. We're moving on the news tonight, and it's important to bring you something away from the 2023 elections. If you want a country where fairness, equity, and justice truly reign, then we must go back to the drawing board and embrace restructuring. These were the words of the widow of the late Yinka Odumaki at a lecture and book presentation in his honor, held in Ikeja, Lagos. Plus TV's correspondent, Love Ikuku was there and brought in this report.
It is 1 year since the passing on of Yinka Odumaki. This book launch was put together in his honor. His wife wrote the book to immortalize him.
Life without him it's almost empty for me, because each day I sleep, when I wake up, I feel his presence. And at times I feel that, up till today, I still have his phone with me. And when I switch off that phone, when I was in the US, I switch off and I said, he has forgotten his phone. Then I send information to the phone at times. So life has been, terribly difficult. It's so difficult for me to agree that it's no longer here.
Tributes flowed from friends, family, and close associates for the late Yinka Odumaki.
We are saddened by this passage, but are consoled by the legacies he left behind. A legacy of commitment to truth and enthronement of a society based on equity, justice, and fairness. Nigeria is a work in progress, and there is no doubt that as we work for the betterment of our society, the indelible memory of exploits of Yinka Odumaki will remain evergreen.
The greatest tribute we can pay to Yinka today
is to decide collectively here that we are going to continue the battle for a new Nigeria that will be anchored on justice and fair play. I thank God for his life. I'm only imagining today, if the dead can only look back, many will not believe they do. My faith says they do. Because the Bible says in Hebrews chapter 12 that we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. And not only that, we are in the midst of the spirits of just men made perfect. I'm sure if he would look back today, he will realize that he had not labored in vain.
Keeping the legacies of the late Odumakin is paramount to his wife. Just like her late husband, she wants to see Nigeria return to true federalism.
All the ideals that Yinka lived and died for, I will continue to keep it. His legacies, I will keep it. I will continue by the grace of God to remain strong. And I promise that I will never let you down.
Yinka Odumakin died at the age of 54. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Uyedoku, Plus TV News.
Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, wants all Nigerians to engage one another in discussions in order to resolve the obvious differences and foster peace and stability in the country. And Professor Osinbajo was speaking at the 75th birthday celebration and book launch in honor of the former Managing Director of the Daily Times of Nigeria, Dr. Yemi Ogunbi in Lagos. The event also had in attendance the former Commonwealth Secretary General, former Governor of Ogun State, and other dignitaries. Plus TV News correspondent Ngozi Kariachis reports.
It was an evening of memories, celebration, music and nostalgia, as friends and families of Dr. Yemi Ogunbi gathered to celebrate his 75th birthday and launched the book, The Road Never Forgets. Pupils of the Yemi Ogunbi Anglican School, named after the celebrant, provided music interludes. Various speakers at the event likened Ogumbi's trajectory to the birth and political growth of Nigeria. The 75-year-old man was born in Kano, in northern Nigeria, to a Yoruba father and an Igbo mother, which he vividly narrated in his memoirs.
You see, this title, The Road Never Forgets. I wrote a play called The Road. There's no way Yemi Ogunbi will persuade me or anyone that he did not steal the copyright of The Road. And I'm willing to negotiate with him, and I donate whatever I extract from him to this worthy cause of universal education.
Many of the stories compiled in this book, my siblings and I have been blessed to either witness or hear from my dad over the course of our lives. He told us stories about his childhood in Kano, about his KC days when he was head boy, and when he used to pole vault. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know my father used to pole vault? He's told us about his New York days with Uncle BJ, about how writing a PhD looked very different before Google. We all know about his days teaching, about how he stumbled into the media industry by chance, but ended up finding a new home there.
In his speech, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Emeka Anyoko, said the only way Nigeria can solve its myriad problems was for it to revert to true federalism. He used the occasion to charge prospective candidates in the forthcoming 2023 general election to commit themselves to the reformulation of the country's governance system.
I believe that the picture that emerges from the book is that Nigeria has largely been on the decline during the period in question, and that, in Yemi's words, Nigeria needs a fresh start, new thinking, and a new beginning.
It was time for the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to give his speech. He harped on the need for all Nigerians of all extracts to engage one another in a concrete discussion that can bed peace.
In telling this compelling story, we are led through the nationalistic idealism of our pre-colonial days, the excitement of civil rule and its tragic denouement, then military rule, a curious diarchy, other iterations of civil rule, and all manner of contemporary events. But he engages every subject honestly, openly, and frankly. Somehow, it almost seems that by his open, vulnerable style, he disarms and commands empathy and admiration. And perhaps there is counsel there for us as a nation. Perhaps we need to talk more to ourselves and not at ourselves. We need frank discussions on the issues that divide us. And we need openness about our fears and prejudices.
Emeritus Professor Femi Oshofiso, a poet, playwright, and scholar, reviewed the book.
The story of his life so far, therefore, with all these collisions and encounters, his moments of glory and of depression, his successes and failures and so on, is what Yemi has assembled in this book. And it is rightly voluminous, taking over 400 pages. Structured into 4 parts of 3 chapters each, making a total of 12 chapters in all. This book, we just call someone's okay.
That you get to know both the
Writing this book, I stuck to my memory, even though I was aware that memory could be selective, tricky, and even forgetful. But memory, as I argue in the book, is vital. How can we carry our memories? How do our memories shape our lives, especially if one had to straddle cultures as a child? In writing this book, however, I confirm that I made no compromises with my past, its warts and all. Rooted firmly in the belief that a memoir is, after all, an interplay between memory and history.
According to Dr. Gumbiyi, Nigeria needs a fresh start and fresh thinking, as nothing can be built on what currently exists. Ngozika Ohaichesi, Plus TV News.
Lagosians are unhappy that no work has commenced on Eko Bridge, weeks after a fire incident burnt goods worth several millions of naira and caused serious damage, forcing motorists to use the alternative routes. That's on Street Views.
We have a government in this country. You have leaders. They don't care for us. They don't care for us. They're just doing anything. The bridge affects us so much. Let the government open the bridge.
They should fix it now so that we won't have this stress when driving. We are praying that Sanwo-Olu should please do it for us.
As you can see, it's affecting everybody. So I should come visit everywhere in abroad now. 2 hours they've done it. So Nigeria government should move fast.
It's affecting us every day. Like what we are passing through here every day. Sometimes we spend more than 1 hour before we can go through the traffic. It's affecting us. We are begging government to just help us fix it.
Fix it quick now. Now the bridge all of us they use. If you know bridge, no us. Make it feed us, make all of us seafood to feed for our family.
We spend 2-3 hours. Like on Monday, we spend 5 hours. 5 hours of hold up. It is stopped every day. Not only one, it stops every day. It's very, very critical. It's stopping every day. Please let them know, let them help us know what they will do there. I beg. It's affecting us very well. In our buses, they keep complaining every day. You understand? One woman delivered a child last week inside the traffic last week.
Still ahead, U.S. grants temporary deportation relief to Cameroonians. Details when we return. Please stay with us.
Creative Industry Power presents one event, 4 locations, 7 days, 10 countries, 168 hours of fun in the city of Lagos. It's the Creative Industry Festival, C-Fest, from the 1st of May to the 7th of May, 2022. Get ready to rock and be rocked the creative way. For more details, visit www.festival.creativeindustrygroup.ng.com. For advert bookings and exhibition stands, call 0913-569-9010. Maximum security guaranteed. C-Fest 2022, powered by Creative Industry Power.
Supported by PlusTvAfrica.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment on winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Let's get to other parts of Africa now. South Africans were searching for survivors today in floods that killed almost 400 people. It washed away homes and roads, leaving thousands without shelter, water, and power. The death toll rose to 395 today from an earlier estimate of 341. Meanwhile, among those mourning is Bonakele Mshali, who lost 2 daughters on April 11 in Durban. The girls, aged 11 and 17, were asleep when floods swept away a corrugated iron shack where they were staying while their mother was out of town attending a funeral. Residents in other areas were scrambling for clean water and rebuilding their destroyed homes as Christians held Good Friday services. South African authorities are releasing emergency funds to help people affected by the floods.
For me so much. As you can see now, I'm taking the toilet. I've got no toilet, I've got no water, I've got no electricity, no food at home. Everything is gone with these floods.
Ngasinandaba kakhulu ukuthi nje khulekile yahamba ngoba zona ingane behambile ngempela njengoba bengiyaleza ukuthi ayiphume endlini ihambe izolala kwasisi akekho mphendulayo bonke abamphenduli mbuze emzamani nayo vela ngiziphi ngavele ngayibonela ukuthi hayi sikhukhuleke nomfuyo
So many reasons to lose hope, to be despairing at this time. And the Christian message is that even in the face of darkness there is light. Even in the face of despair there is hope.
Stone is coming from that side. It's throw it to my house. We try to run away, my young children, my young boy. There's cabbage, the soil, it's gone over on top. Now we try to take the children down on the soil. Lucky we found it. There's a blanket there. I got nowhere to go now. I got no house, I got no nothing. There's my family is there by my neighbors. We tried to give me the place to sleep last night. We never slept last night.
The things very situation.
A Tunisian court today freed a journalist who had been detained after she criticized police and the interior minister. The arrest of Charazade Akacha on Thursday caused widespread anger. It was widely seen by activists and journalists as a setback to freedom of expression since President Kais Saied seized executive power last summer. The union said Akacha's arrest on Thursday was due to a Facebook post. In the post, she criticized Interior Minister Taufik Chafedin and accused police of insulting and beating her in the street last week. In her post, Akacha called on the Interior Minister to control his policemen, describing them as dogs, after she said they beat her, insulted her, and took off her veil. Now, Somalia swore in almost all of the members of its lower and upper houses of parliament yesterday. The 290 new lawmakers took oath of office at a ceremony heavily secured in the capital, Mogadishu. The electoral process has been delayed for months amid a power struggle between the current president and the prime minister. President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed's mandate expired in February 2021, and his efforts to remain in power for 2 more years were fiercely condemned and met by clashes. Dozens were legislators yet to be appointed. Once elected, both houses are due to hold a vote to choose a new president. Now, the Biden administration will grant temporal deportation relief and work permits to Cameroonians living in the United States. The Homeland Security Department announced this today, stating extreme violence between government forces and armed separatists in the African nation makes it unsafe for them to return. The 18 months reprieve will only apply to Cameroonians who are in the U.S. by Thursday, April 14. That's yesterday, according to the DHS. An estimated 12,000 Cameroonians will be eligible for this status, according to the department. Meanwhile, the head of the World Health Organization has highlighted coverage of the Ukraine war to question whether the world gives equal attention to black and white lives. Tedros Ghebreyesus acknowledged that the war in Ukraine is globally significant, but asked if other crises are being accorded enough attention. He made the comments during a virtual press briefing from Geneva. Last month, Tedros said there is nowhere on earth where the health of millions of people is more under threat than Ethiopia's Tigray region. He also critiqued the press for its failure to document the ongoing atrocities in Ethiopia, noting that people had been burned alive in the region.
I don't know if the world really gives equal attention to black and white lives. I said it last week. The whole attention to Ukraine is very important, of course, because it impacts the whole world. But even a fraction of it is not being given to Tigray, Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, and the rest. A fraction. And I need to be blunt and honest that the world is not treating the human race same way. Some are more equal than others.
Now, outside Africa, Pope Francis presided over a solemn Good Friday service, recalling the last hours in the life of Jesus, with the shadow of the war in Ukraine hanging over the most somber day in the Christian calendar. Francis has been suffering from a recent flare-up of pain in his knee and legs. He limped up the main aisle of St. Peter's Basilica at the start of the service, known as the Passion of the Lord. However, he did not prostrate himself on the marble floor as he had at the start of similar past services. He instead stood for a few minutes with his head bowed. Francis later sat while cantors and a choir sang gospel verses recounting events from Jesus' arrest to his burial. Salah Abu Salam, the main suspect in the November 2015 Paris attacks, apologized to all victims today when the last day of his questioning at the trial over the attacks. The attacks killed more than 100 people and injured hundreds others. 20 people are in trial in Paris suspected of involvement in a jihadist assault on November 13, 2015, the deadliest attack ever seen in a peacetime France, in which 130 were killed. The trial opened in September 2021 and is expected to conclude in May. Up next, inflation rate rises to 5-month high at 15.92% in March. We've got that for you in business news. Please stay with us.
Welcome to the business news. I am Adibanke Odunoi. Nigeria's inflation rose to 15.92% in March 2022, following a similar uptick recorded in the previous month as a result of the increase in energy prices. This represents the highest rate recorded since October 2021. This is according to the recently released Consumer Price Index report released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate of inflation, rose by 15.92% year-on-year in March 2022, which is 0.22% point higher than a 15.7% recorded in the previous month. Nigerian Exchange Traded Funds (ETFs) rounded off the week on a negative note as the total net asset value of the investment declined by 1.29% between 1st and 8th of April 2022, leading to a loss of 128.03 million in a week. This is based on weekly data released on the performance of mutual funds in the country by Securities Exchange Commission (SEC). According to the data, the net asset value of ETFs in the country declined from 7.26 billion naira recorded as of the 1st of April 2022 to stand at 7.13 billion naira as of the end of the week in review. Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak says several buyers of Russian gas have agreed to switch to payments in rubles. Last month, President Vladimir Putin said buyers of Russian gas from unfriendly countries should pay in rubles, a move rejected by European Union authorities under the bloc's sanctions regime against Moscow. Putin had warned Europe it risked having gas suppliers cut unless it pays in the Russian currency, as he seeks to retaliate over the sanctions imposed over what Moscow calls its special military operation in Ukraine. Asian shares fell in muted trading as most world markets were closed for Good Friday and other holidays. Benchmarks declined in Tokyo, Seoul, and Shanghai. Sydney, Manila, Bangkok, and Hong Kong were among Asian markets observing holidays on Friday. US and European markets also were closed. After markets closed, China's central bank freed up extra money for lending to support the slowing economy by cutting the amount of reserves commercial banks are required to hold. And that is business news. I am Adibanke Odunoi. The news continues.
We've got some entertainment news for you. Stay with us.
And in entertainment, Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, have visited Queen Elizabeth at the Windsor Castle, making it the first time since they relocated to the United States of America. The prince and his wife moved to the United States in 2020 after they stepped back as senior members of the royal family. The pair are in Europe for Prince Harry's 5th Invictus Games, taking place in the Dutch city of The Hague starting this weekend. Actor Eddie Deezen, who played nerd Eugene Felsnake in the 1978 movie Grease and its 1982 sequel, has been behind bars again. Arrested in Maryland on April the 9th for burglary, 2 counts of trespassing and disturbing the peace. His inmate record shows the 65-year-old remains behind bars and is being held on bond. Deason had forced his way into a privately owned nursing facility and refused to leave after a woman told him to get out. Actor Gilbert Godin Jr. has entered a plea of guilty to a misdemeanor charge of forcibly touching a woman at a New York City nightclub in 2018. He admitted to 2 other incidents of non-consensual contact in October 2018 and June 2019. Under the terms of the plea agreement, Godin is to continue alcohol and behavior modification treatment for 6 months and has no new arrest. After the time, he can replead to harassment. If he successfully follows the terms and repleads to the lesser charge, Godin can face a sentence to time served. If he does not comply with the terms, he could face up to 1 year in jail. Veteran highlife musician Orlando Julius has died at the age of 79. Julius' death was announced in the early hours of Friday by his wife, Latoya Ekemode. She said that Julius passed out in his sleep on Thursday night. The Adara singer's death also confirmed by his music promoter, Bimbo Esho, who described Julius as a saxophonist, singer, band leader, and songwriter, closely associated with Afrobeat music. Some of his musical albums are Disco Highlife, Ololufe, Love, Peace and Happiness, Dance, Afrobeat, and more. May his gentle soul rest in peace. And that's all in entertainment. I am Ifeoluwa Oshike.
Now, ever exciting world of sports. Stay with us.
And now sports. Some of the country's football fans took to social media to slam the Nigerian Football Federation following the appointment of Salisu Yusuf as the head coach of the Super Eagles B, Chan team and the Under-23 team. However, some ex-internationals refused to comment on the issue. The NFF on Thursday announced that it had approved the recommendation of its Technical and Development Subcommittee to appoint Yusuf, who was banned for 1 year in 2018 after he was caught on camera accepting cash from men who posed as football agents to select 2 players for his Morocco 2018 African Nations Championship squad. He was also overheard to pay a fine of $5,000 by the Federation following the NFF Ethics and Fair Play Committee, ruling that the coach received $1,000 from the men. The NFF reinstated the coach in 2019 and later approved his return as assistant coach of the Eagles and head coach of the Eagles B team, with effect from November 1st, 2020. In a statement through its media team, the NFF said Yusuf will take charge of the Chan team as well as the Olympic men's team, an appointment that sparked reactions across social media. Former Masters and British Open runner-up Jack Newton has died aged 72, his family said on Friday. The Australian lost the playoff to Tom Watson in the 1975 British Open and finished tied for 7 behind Spanish golfer Steve Ballesteros at the 1980 Masters. His career was cut short at the age of 33 when he lost his right arm and eye and suffered severe abdominal injuries when he was hit by a spinning propeller as he prepared to board the plane. Newton won more on the PGA Tour at the Buick Goodrich Open in 1978 and claimed a total of 13 professional wins, including the British Match Play title in 1974 and the Australian Open in 1979. Newton went on to become television commentator and golf course designer while teaching himself to play one-handed.
It was an absolute delight to work with him in the booth. Every day was different because I didn't know what I was going to get, and sometimes I don't think Jack knew what was going to come out of his mouth. But he was almost like the golfer's commentator. When I say that, it was like he was a golfer, but unlike us who were broadcasters, And so the players related to him so well.
The former golfing great described himself as nervous before he hit off today. The only practice he'd had since his accident was a few swings in his backyard and what he said was an awful practice round yesterday. But with his 6-year-old daughter Christy as caddy and specially designed lightweight clubs, Newton showed he still has what it takes. An appreciative public gallery saw his powerful left swing take the ball 180 metres. Despite his obvious enjoyment to be back, Newton says he has no aspirations to play professionally again.
There's been some suggestion I'm going to start playing the tour again. I mean, it's hard enough with 2 arms and 2 eyes, let alone half of each. So I'm just going to go out and enjoy myself, and if I can still get some fun out of the game playing with my mates and friends and what have you, then it'll be a new challenge for me.
Britain's men's 4x100 meters relay team have been told to hand back their Tokyo 2020 silver medals after Chichindu Uja's doping violation. The British Olympic Association said on Thursday. Uja and teammates Zarnell Hughes, Richard Kitty and Nathaniel Mitchell-Blake finished second behind Italy last August, but were stripped of the silver in February after a court of arbitration for sports ruling Canada will now be upgraded to silver and China to bronze. And that's all from the world of sports. My name is Wiley Scott. Do have yourself a beautiful weekend.
And the main news again. Today, Christians marked Good Friday as prelude to Easter celebrations. South Africans are still in search of survivors in ruins of floods that killed nearly 400. And Ukraine war overshadowed Pope's Good Friday messages today. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. I'm Tolu Ojomi. Thanks for watching and do have a good night.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
Yes, yo, you're welcome to the biggest entertainment show on the planet. And of course, when it's time for tea, we know we definitely spill or we sip. Yes, are you ready for today's show? Because yes, with me today is two beautiful ladies. I'm feeling like I'm the king. Come on. Look at these girls. Come on. But anyways, this is still tea time. It is not a fashion show. These girls are just sitting pretty. They woke up like this. Yes, of course. And yes, welcome to the show, Elile, and of course, Belema. What's up?
That was an intro. That was,
right?
That was
I'm not even
hype
done.
Man. Sorry. No. Let's let him finish.
I'm not even done. Of course, on this show, we'll give you the biggest dissections, analysis, and of course, the dopest